And welcome to Hannity Tonight. The threat posed by radical Islamists right here in America is real, and it is being ignored by your president, President Obama. Now, while law enforcement is still investigating yesterday's shooting in San Bernardino, California, we're learning more about the suspects. Now, a source briefed on the investigation has now told Fox News that Saeed Farook did have contact with individuals who were previously the subject of FBI terrorism investigations. They say many of those cases have since been closed. And Reuters is also reporting the Saudi embassy in Washington is saying that Farook traveled to Saudi Arabia for 9 days in July of 2014. Now, the FBI also said earlier today that Farook traveled to Pakistan, while adding that his wife was in the U.S. on a K-1 visa and had a Pakistani passport. Now, keep in mind, radical Islamic threats to the homeland are now increasing. Now, we now know that there are investigations into ISIS in all 50 states, and in an interview taped yesterday, the president told you, the American people, not to worry about ISIS striking our homeland. Watch this.
What I try to do is to make sure that people understand the threat is real. We have to be vigilant. But we also can't panic, and we can't respond out of fear. ISIL is not going to pose an existential threat to us. They are a dangerous organization like Al-Qaeda was. But we have hardened our defenses. Our homeland has never been more protected by more effective intelligence and law enforcement professionals at every level than they are now.
The president once again underestimating this enemy, and just hours before last month's deadly Paris attacks, remember that was carried out by ISIS, the president made this shocking claim. Watch this.
From the start, our goal has been first to contain, and we have contained them. They have not gained ground in Iraq, and in Syria, they'll come in, they'll leave, but you don't see this systematic march by ISIL across the terrain. What we have not yet been able to do is to completely decapitate their command and control structures.
Also, we cannot forget, it was back only in 2014. The president said, quote, the analogy that we use around here sometimes, and I think is accurate, that is if a JV team puts on a Lakers uniform, well, that doesn't make them Kobe Bryant. Well, the JV team is struck again. Here now with reaction, the author of Crippled America, How to Make America Great Again, 2016 Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump. Now, we don't know the association here, Mr. Trump, but this is an important question. How can our president be so wrong so often on so many issues involving our safety? The JV team, they are contained. They're not an existential threat to America. The president won't say radical jihadists. They won't say radical Islam. What is it about this president? At this point, it almost seems pathological.
Well, perhaps he's incompetent. We have a president that doesn't know what he's doing. I think perhaps you could actually say, hard to believe, but we have somebody that's incompetent. He wasn't meant for the position, but he's there, and we have him for another year, a little more than a year, if you think. And we're stuck with him, I guess, for a little while, and hopefully the right decision's going to make. Hopefully that decision's going to be me, but we'll see. But hopefully the right decision's going to be made, and we're going to have an amazing leader, a great leader, and somebody that's going to do the job and do it properly in every respect. I mean, we're not only talking about ISIS, we're talking about on trade, we're talking about on border, we're talking about on Obamacare, which is turning out to be a total catastrophe. It's a disaster. You look at what's happening with the rates. We're talking education. We're talking about everything, Sean. We're not just talking about ISIS, but ISIS right now is the hot topic, and the man doesn't have a clue.
You know, the president, we now have reports out there all day today, law enforcement officials saying that Saeed Farook was, in fact, apparently radicalized and in touch with and being investigated by the FBI, people investigated for these international terrorism incidents. Even though the cases may be closed, it makes you wonder, how come they keep missing these things? And then you have to raise the question about the president, in spite of what James Clapper is saying and the FBI director is saying and intelligence officials saying, bringing in Syrian refugees when ISIS, we know, wants to infiltrate that population. What is your response to that?
Well, he doesn't even want to use the term, the proper term, to describe these people. And, you know, if you're not going to use the term and if you're not going to define them correctly, you're never going to solve the problem. So he doesn't use the term. He doesn't really know. I don't know. You know, somebody told me before they think he has bad intentions. Let's assume he doesn't have bad intentions. I just don't think he knows what he's doing. I think it's gotten to a point where it's embarrassing. He's over there talking about global warming. Global warming is our biggest problem. They want to blow up our country. They want to blow up our cities. They want to knock down our buildings. And he's worried about global warming. So, you know, we have somebody that's not in touch.
Yeah, he's talking about the weather, and meanwhile, I was stunned. Former CIA Director Mike Morell's comments where he said the very financial foundation that is making ISIS rich, the oil wells, that they made a conscious decision not to cut off their finances because they didn't want to have environmental damage. Is dereliction of duty the proper description of that? How do you describe it?
Well, you know, I've been saying hit the oil for 3 years, and he actually put people out to say, oh, that's not a good idea. Some of his generals said, oh, that's not a good idea. I've been saying it for years. On your show, I've been saying it for a long time. I think you'll confirm that. And he's just been saying, oh, no, that's not a good idea. And his generals said, now, as soon as Paris happens, I mean, they start hitting the oil. They should have done it 2 years ago, and you wouldn't have ISIS probably, because that's a great source of their wealth. I said hit the oil. But I also said keep the oil. I said hit the oil, but keep the oil. We wouldn't do that. Why would we do a thing like that? It's too intelligent. So anyway, they're starting to hit the oil, and that'll be good. You know, the interesting thing is the one that hit the oil first was France. But I did hear that there were reports that environmentally they had big environmental concerns because by hitting the oil, you'll put things into the atmosphere, and that would be bad for the world. So, I mean, the whole thing is so preposterous, it's hard to believe. But I've heard that. I will tell you that part of the reason the wall was never built on our southern border is because they had environmental impact statement problems, and that's a hard one to believe also, if you want to know the truth.
Then let's advance the timeline here. Let's say it's January 2017. Donald Trump is sworn in as president. How do you deal with ISIS? What are the first moves you make? What are the moves you make to secure the border? What are the moves you make in terms of people with visas from countries where maybe they practice Sharia law and there's a clash of culture?
Well, I could talk about that question for about 3 hours, to be honest with you. That's a big question in terms of there's a lot of things you're going to do. We're going to get rid of his executive order allowing people to just pour into our country unabated, where our great Border Patrol, and they are a great Border Patrol, I've spent a lot of time with them, but they're told to stand down, don't do anything. People walk right in front of them, and they're standing there. They want to do something. People are pouring into the country. So, you know, we've had some pretty good luck legally on that one in the courts recently, but he's got executive orders that immediately terminate them. I'd hit ISIS very, very hard. I'd check the visa situation because I want people, they have to be the right people coming into the country. And I want people coming in, but they have to come in legally.
Would you go through every visa? Would you go through every visa of every person in the country?
Well, you have to.
But let me ask you about
every visa.
But if you grow up under Sharia law, where women can't drive, need a male relative to even go out in public, that, you know, the very restrictive laws that they live under, even in Saudi Arabia, it is the antithesis of our constitutional republic. How do you ascertain if it's a Syrian refugee, if it's somebody that wants to come here on a visa, how do we ascertain whether they want to bring their values that they grew up with them, or they want to assimilate and enjoy the new breath of freedom that they'd never enjoyed before? I don't think it's possible to determine that.
They do want to bring their values, and you know what? If we were going over there, we'd probably want to bring our values, in all fairness, Sean. I mean, you know, that's the way it goes. That's the way life is.
Well, I believe in American exceptionalism.
Just look at what happened recently when I made the statement about, you know, dancing on the roofs and in the streets of New Jersey. I mean, now it's been validated. So many people have come out and said, that's right, hundreds of calls, and they have so much information now. And for the most part, people have been reporting it, although a lot of them haven't reported it the way they should be. You have been really amazing. You've been so honest about it. But, you know, I've been proven right. Everybody wanted me to apologize. Now I've been proven right. And, you know, it's the way it is. Look, they have their customs, and that's the way it is. And I'm not even blaming them for that. But the question is this country prepared to do that? Are we prepared to go? And, you know, like they're talking about the Syrian refugees coming in. Sean, who knows who these people are? There's no documentation. There's no proof whatsoever. I've seen on lots of shows, including yours, where you have really good police and police types, and they're saying there's absolutely no way of verifying where these people are coming from. So it could be the greatest of all Trojan horses. We just don't know. And, you know, you're not talking about big percentages. If 5 people come in, the wrong people, we've got ourselves some big problems.
But how could a president, knowing that his own National Director of Intelligence, FBI Director, Assistant FBI Director, his general in charge of strategizing to defeat ISIS, are all saying what you just said, and he's not listening? You know, you were right. Even Dan Rather had reported on it. Pablo Guzman of CBS in New York, the Washington Post, the AP, the Star Ledger had mentioned it in some capacity about people celebrating on 9/11. Now you're under fire today because you're saying we've got to also take out the families of those abroad that are attacking Americans and have affiliated themselves with these terror groups. Do you want to expand on that?
Well, look at the World Trade Center. The animals that knocked down the World Trade Center, killing thousands and thousands of people and destroying so many families, permanently destroying so many families, and the destruction and everything. Forget the money. The money was massive, but look at the people that were killed. These people put their wives and whatever, they put their family, but they put their wives on airplanes a day or two before, all going back except for one to Saudi Arabia, okay? They're all going back to Saudi Arabia, and they're all going, in other words, they're leaving. Those wives, I guarantee you, those wives knew every single thing that was going to take place. And they probably said to themselves, let's go home and watch our husbands knock down the World Trade Center, the Pentagon, and almost wherever the other plane was landing, except we had some very brave passengers on that plane, frankly. But wherever that plane was going to land, it ended up at a field in Pennsylvania. But they went home. They knew exactly, and I say take them out. Take them out. And I'll tell you the thing, they supposedly don't care about their lives. I disagree with that. I'd say they're chicken, and they do care about their lives. But supposedly they don't care about their lives. But they do care about their families' lives, okay? And it's one thing I am so certain. They know and they care about their families' lives. Their family, in particular the wives, know everything that's going on. And I guarantee you, every one of those wives went back home and they wanted to watch on television the destruction that their husbands were going to cause.
That's pretty chilling.
I say take them out.
I actually agree with you. You also, I want to go back to the 5 people out of the 10,000 Syrian refugees that the president wants to take in, against the advice of many smart intelligence officials in our government. If, in fact, 5 of those people commit acts of terror and kill Americans, wouldn't that mean the president has blood on his hands?
Well, look, the president is somebody, you know, you could say he's a fool in a certain way because everybody's saying don't do it. He's very arrogant. He's very stubborn. He doesn't want to listen to anybody. And he's so wrong. And he's so wrong. And, by the way, the 10,000 is not a real number. The 10,000 is going to be much more. You know, I've been saying 200,000. The 10,000 is a fictitious number. If you watch this Democrat debate, and it is actually Democrat debate, not Democratic debate. Every network's got that one wrong, but that's okay. They put it Democratic because it sounds better. But if you watch the Democrat debate, you would see that the number that they mentioned was 65,000. Now, he's mentioning 10,000. Let me tell you, they're going to bring hundreds of thousands. But if you look at the debate, just go back and study the debate. I believe the number is 65,000 they used in the debate with Hillary Clinton.
If you look over the 3-year period in terms of refugees, not all from Syria, the number's 255,000, which we've gone over and tried to educate PolitiFact about, but they didn't learn.